Good morning. My name is Daniel Long. I'm a writer for the Asian Century Philippine Strategic Studies Institute. Today's forum is entitled China's Two Sessions, Prospects for Philippine Economic Recovery. It is March 21, 2025. It's been 11 days since the nation has been in mourning after the former President Rodrigo Duterte has been kidnapped and surrendered to a foreign entity. Many are still sympathetic and in a very sad state of mind because of what had happened. We share their sympathies and we hope that the former president will be returned as soon as possible. We have a few speakers with us today. First, from the Schiller Institute, from, of course, Herman Laurel, President of the Asian Century Philippine Strategic Studies Institute, with Mr. Austin Ong, co-founder of the Philippines-China Friendship Society. We have Paglinawan, the Vice President, of course, for Asian Century Philippines. And we have a few reactors on the panel. We have Mr. Ed Pancha from Tuguegarao. We have Rico Osmeña from Cebu. We have Tess Padla from Cagayan de Oro and other key cities joining us to react via Zoom. Our first speaker, of course, will be Herman Laurel to give us a short introduction about the theme of today's forum. Let us welcome Herman Laurel for his opening remarks.
Okay, magandang umaga sa buong mundo at sa ating bayan. Good morning to the whole world and to our nation, the Filipino people. We are going through a very deep crisis, but the crisis that brings hope that the final liberation will be coming to our nation, led by President Duterte and his martyrdom, and of course his daughter, Vice President Sara Duterte, and the movement behind both of them now that has grown to millions, not only in the country, but all over the world. This act of betrayal of the Filipino people is not done solely by the prevailing government in the Philippines under Bongbong Marcos, but this is committed in cahoots with the deep state of the United States of America. This is what we will be explaining at the end of our paper today. But we will start off with a hopeful message from the two sessions that has just been concluded on March 11 by the People's Republic of China. It was started in March 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, or 3rd. So it's it's been almost a week that this annual event in China, the two sessions, the meeting of the National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Committee, CPPCC, has been engaged annually this year. It's 2025 in March, where China reviews its economic program, its economic implementation, its implementation of the regular 5-year plans of China. So I will read my prepared paper, but I will just note that our poster announcing the media forum and symposium today focuses on two things. On the left side, nandiyan na ba sa screen ito? Nasa screen? No, not that one yet. Yung poster natin, yan. Shows the achievement of China's economy in the year 2024, 5.1% growth, despite the constant doomsaying of many in the Western media. 5% growth of the world's largest economy by PPP, power purchase parity, is a very huge achievement. On the right side is a news from Eurasian highlighting the dilemma of the Philippines today, where economic development has been ground to a halt, primarily because of mistaken and erroneous foreign policy As we can see in the headline here, China's withdrawal puts the Philippines' $850 million freight railway project in a limbo. This freight railway is the Luzon Economic Corridor. That is a railway between Subic and Clark, all the way to Manila and to Batangas, to the ports of these key cities and transshipment hubs, trade hubs. But the Philippines is eyeing the US and Japanese lenders and has been waiting for 3 years now for the assistance from Japan or from the United States, which is still questionable up to this day, 3 years later. And given the crisis in the US economy and financial system, it is highly doubtful that the US will be able to extend assistance. Likewise, Japan. We will give more details as we go along in this paper of ours. So my title is Two Sessions, China's Stabilizing Role for Peace and Prosperity. Just a bit of a note on the title. China, we're stressing the stabilizing role of China for global peace and prosperity, because in contrast, the United States of America is in a trade war with friends and foes alike all over the world, imposing tariffs left and right, even on so-called allies. Actually, there are no more allies to the United States when it comes to trade and economics. Maybe only in creating war they are looking for allies, but not for the economic prosperity of allies, friends, and the world. So remember that this is not the only project that has been postponed or delayed. The Zone Economic Corridor, the Mindanao 1,100 kilometer circumferential railway of Mindanao has been cancelled effectively. The South Railway from Manila to Bicol has also been cancelled. These are all into the multi-billions of dollars projects with China have all been cancelled. Likewise, the North Rail from Manila to Northern Luzon. These economic and financial issues are being swept under the rug by the present government of the Philippines, which is unconscionable. But this government does not have any conscience. It is collaborating with the American deep state to drive the Philippine economy down in preparation for a proxy war by creating an impoverished nation where soldiers are easy to recruit, where the population is driven insane by poverty and confused. So the title, again, I stress, is a contrast of what China provides the world and the Philippines if normalization is established versus what the US deep state is offering to the world and to the Philippines. China's 2025 two sessions reviewed government performance and projected its plans in coming years based on its regular 5-year plans. In previous decades, these annual meetings of the National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference have proved their superior democratic ideological leadership and governance to guide the country in becoming the largest and most innovative economy in just over 7.5 decades. As you can see, this is from an IMF forecast on the role of China and the Chinese economy in the world economy. China to remain the single largest contributor to global growth, and the pie that you see there will show the contributions to the world economic growth 2024 to 2029, almost the entire decade ahead of us. The rest of the decade ahead of us, as forecast by the IMF. China to remain the single largest contributor to economic growth. As you can see from the pie chart, China represents 20.70% today of the global economy. The United States is only second, almost just half of China at 11.60%. India is the third at 14 point, India is the second at 14.080%. The United States is only the third at 11.6%. The rest of the world is 26.4%. So we can see the significance of China's contribution to the world economy. If you want to look into the details, you can look at the right side of the graph, the chart. We have Turkey, Egypt, Germany, all just hovering around below 2%, but Japan, Bangladesh, United Kingdom, Vietnam, France, Saudi Arabia, and the Philippines. So again, we stress that the rest of the world does not even, the rest of the world just about equals China's contribution to the world economy. Okay, I will continue my paper. China has shown the contribution to the world that a major nation can make when it shares its prosperity during its monumental but peaceful rise. China now contributes 21.7% to global growth, twice that of the United States, and this will grow larger towards 2029 based on IMF projections. China's global economic outreach through the Belt and Road Initiative, which has invested 1.17 trillion US dollars in 149 countries around the world, and primarily the global south, underwriting economic development and uplifting countless poorer nations. As you can see here, from China Power, this was in 2023, which has of course grown in 2024, but we do not have the data yet. The total number of partners in the Belt and Road Initiative of China is now 151 partner countries, maybe one less this year because of the forcible withdrawal of Panama from the Belt and Road Initiative, from the bullying of the United States of America and President Trump. But the combined population of all countries involved in the Belt and Road Initiative is 1.5 billion people. Combined GDP of all countries involved in the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, is $41 billion. Trade between China and the Belt and Road Initiative countries in 2021 was $2.8 trillion. And total value of investment, as I have already said a while ago, is $1 trillion, over $1 trillion actually. Okay, we move on to the next segment of my paper. 2025 two sessions: stability, consumption, open market. The 2025 two sessions offer many takeaways for the Philippines, such as the drive for new quality productive forces in innovation and global collaboration, such as innovative products as AI, electric vehicles, 6G internet, and scores of other new inventions from China. One of the most important takeaways came during the press conference of Foreign Minister Wang Yi that highlighted the role of China as, quote, a source of stability in a turbulent world, unquote. In contrast, the United States of America is and has been for all the past decades the source of global economic and financial dislocations and sanctions, including the 2008 financial crash, the wars in Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Palestine, the trade wars 1.0 and 2.0, But China has consistently provided a counterbalance to the United States disruptions, thereby inspiring confidence. Then I'd like to highlight the many quotable quotes from the press conference of Foreign Minister Wang Yi of China. And this is the one I love most in response to the question from the media about the policy of China versus the United States of America, where the United States of America promotes the idea of uh, no permanent friends, only permanent national interest. The response of Wang Yi to that was, we in China believe that friends should be permanent and we should pursue common interests. Because in this whole world, so closely tied together, all nations being so closely tied together, and with the threat of nuclear Armageddon always looming in the background, nations must pursue common interest, not just national interest. And that is the tragedy today of the United States of America. In trying to make America great again, they think the path is through their own, solely through their own national interest. This is not going to work. The world must be permanently friends with each other, and we must all pursue the common interests of humanity. So China is targeting 5% economic growth in 25 for the largest economy. That is indeed a very ambitious project or aim. A huge project that will give its middle class of 400 million and growing consumer market a major boost by the Chinese government to spur consumption. Meanwhile, the Philippines is losing out on the food exports to China compared to ASEAN and other competitors, sliding behind Vietnam in the past year in banana exports to China. If the Philippines doesn't shape up soon, the Philippines will lose market share permanently and billions of dollars in exports. Despite Philippine provocations, China's arms continue to be open to all global South friends, including the Philippines. In December 2024, the Philippine delegation enjoyed sales of $1.6 billion at the 7th China International Import Exhibition in December of 2024, just a few months ago. Also anticipated is the incoming investment of $3.5 billion investment from the Panhua Group for a comprehensive steel mill in the Philippines. And this is just one among many others that are waiting in line. The Panhua Group project, when operational in the next few years, will generate 20,000 Filipino jobs, very badly needed jobs. And here in the photo you can see before you on your screen is our Philippine Consul General Frank Olea in Chongqing, China, and has reported the ongoing consultations on the mill project, as you can see from this slide. So many good things are still going on between the Philippines and China, despite the turbulent waters that has been stirred by external forces between the two countries. The Philippine dilemma today, I will now explain, is the manufactured conflict in the country. The Western powers, called by various alternative media as the deep state, the blob, and other tags, have plunged the Philippines into a new intensified phase of destabilization and polarization through the use of US proxy assets led by Bongbong Marcos to abduct and kidnap former President Rodrigo R. Duterte, to bring him to The Hague to be detained unlawfully, This is a gross violation of Philippine sovereignty and all the principles of due process and speedy justice. The escalating destabilization and division in Philippine society is a continuation of the US deep states build up towards a new proxy war that kicked off in 2011 with the US pivot to Asia with a stated objective of containing China. The new US Trump government is trying to extricate itself from the Gaza and Ukraine quagmires, but to shift to Asia as its renewed target. The Philippines and Taiwan have become the key US jump off point for tension and conflict against China. In the Philippines, long-term destabilization, socio-political schism, and debilitating economic crisis occur because scarce resources are diverted to military buildup, among other diversions to corruption and so on. This creates a mass of poor, jobless, confused, and emotionally volatile population that is easily manipulated to hate an imagined enemy. This is the Western powers divide and rule strategy that seeks to divide global South countries into conflicts, as they are now doing to the Philippines. Since President Duterte assumed the presidency in 2016 and announced our separation from the United States, quote unquote, and sought the return of Balanggiga Bells that was the US trophy for its massacre of that later town, the US has exerted every effort to damage Duterte. US funded and directed proxies, or I now call Chihuahuas in the Philippines, American Chihuahuas, oligarchs controlling mainstream media, corrupt politicians, civil society NGOs ad nauseam support the US agenda to demolish Duterte and his legacy of independence. A recent example of the continuation of throwing fuel to our domestic fire is the move of a minuscule party list group in Congress to abolish the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, NTFLCA, which has effectively, the NTFLCA had effectively pacified grassroots insurgency over the past decade. This project to abolish the NTF-LCAC will really incense the armed forces of the Philippines. The Communist fronts received their party list accreditation in exchange for collaboration in the EDSA DOS mobilization, which is a subject for a separate discussion someday soon. The manufactured West Philippine Sea tensions are an example of divisive US proxy cognitive warfare operation by the government, leftists, rightists, et al. These same forces are willing to yield sovereignty to the alien ICC, International Criminal Court. Some have already called it International Colonial Court, to rid themselves of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And even as the Duterte versus ICC brawl is playing out, the United States funded Atin Ito, West Philippine Sea civilian quote-unquote assertive transparency provocations in the disputed areas with China are starting up again. From the right or the rightists of the political spectrum, the once young military putschist group, Magdalo. So you can see the left and the right active against Duterte, has been pushing for the ICC case versus Duterte for nearly 10 years now with a lot of help from foreign sources. Finally, with the complicity of the PBBM government, the ICC case has materialized. With the Magdalo are the leftist groups of martial law vintage, including Karapatan, the National Union of Lawyers of the Philippines, with the local ICC hire attorney Christine Conti et al. Behind all these leftist, rightist fringe groups are the multifarious US deep state funding channels, from USAID to the more disguised Caritas International, Miserior International, etc. Supporting their black propaganda is the entire gamut of Philippine mainstream and social media networks funded by US-linked local oligarchs and direct US regime change funders such as the National Endowment for Democracy, Omidyar, Soros Open Society Foundation, etc. We are providing this backgrounder on the Philippine situation to help the public understand why sovereignty is fundamental to our nation's ability to rise above the quagmire. The US state will keep targeting any national leadership that makes genuine efforts to address the fundamental challenges to Philippine society. The US interferes in Philippine governance through the oligarchy's exploitation of the economy and control of politics through corrupt politicians beholden to the US deep state and the oligarchy. This is why they have targeted and are targeting the Dutertes. It's only 9:28. One of our provincial city reactors, Rico Osmeña, informed us earlier that he has to leave at 10:30. So we will open the discussion with our reactors as soon as we can. Danny, we can have initial reactions or questions from everybody. And can we see if some of our guests from the provinces are already with us? We are expecting Pancha. We are expecting.
Yes, please raise your hands if you wish to react to what Kamentong Laurel has presented.
With us.
Please raise your hands in Zoom.
I understand Tess Padla of Cagayan de Oro is under the weather today, so cannot join us. We have Celso Cainlet from Iloilo. So I wonder if Rico has any comment or question, because Rico has to leave early, and maybe I'd like to request him to.
Yes,
open
sir.
some questions.
Sir Rico Osmeña, please raise your hand. Ayun.
Nandun na?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
raise your
can we hear Rico?
Yes, good morning, Kamentong. Good morning to our friends now in Manila.
Yun sa Cebu. Weather in Cebu.
Medyo bumalik na mainit kahapon, medyo umuulan, but now it's already hot here at 37 or 38. Okay, but anyway, I'd just like to ask, for the Visayan people would like to ask if we are privy of investments that has been prevented, China investments that has been prevented for the Visayas, especially for Cebu. Meron po ba tayong input tungkol dito?
Well, I think the Chinese consul in Cebu is very active trying to look for investment prospects. But there are no slated projects that I'm aware of right now because of the 2 years of hiatus of Philippine-China relations. So, but we should help each other promote Cebu as an investment destination for Chinese investments. If we are to follow the lead of our ASEAN neighbors such as Malaysia and Indonesia. Malaysia has a BYD joint venture, electric vehicles. Indonesia has a nickel processing and EV battery production joint venture with China. We can study Cebu's potentials. I think there are already ongoing furniture exports engaged with China. I think also in the last China International Import Exhibition, there were Cebu products there, but I'm not prepared to report on it today. But I have a question for Rico also in Cebu. What is the number one atmosphere about the relations with China? What is the temperament or the perception?
Well, Cebu have to accept the fact that 75% of the imports here are all China. And the bulk of if historically Cebu, even with the first international trade that started, actually mga Chinese. That's why medyo ang ang mga Chinese dito very, especially business, no? I mean, it's one that made the Cebu boom is the Chinese investment or the Chinese business. We have to accept the fact. Medyo tingin ko ngayon yun, well, of course, politically ngayon medyo yung nangyari kay Presidente Duterte, ang mga Cebuanos medyo we can relate it to China relationship na medyo up in arms ang mga Cebuanos tungkol sa ginawa nila kay Presidente Duterte, which also of course mukhang nakikita ko yung sentimento ng Chinese dito, na we expect a lot of course of investment from China. Pero siyempre naapektuhan dahil sa politika ngayon. But anyway, I would just like to cite recently, there is a contractor topped by Acciona. It's a Spain-based, but a contractor is Power China. I don't know if you're familiar with this. We launched a 150 megawatt solar power. It's a 187 hectare property in the Bantayan. It's a north end of the province of Cebu.
Yes,
thank you.
We have reported that project, and thank you very much for bringing it up again. And you're better acquainted with the projects Paladian than we are, of course. You're from Cebu. So that is a very big project talaga, yung China Power project. In fact, some of our data here are from China Power. Anyway, yes, go ahead pa. Tuloy mo, Rico.
Anyway, tingin ko yung sentiments dito, Kamentong, and our friends there. If you talk about that, well, ang sentiments natin, karamihan talaga, lahat kami dito, talagang dugo namin China. Meron kaming dugo niyan. So, tingin ko at least nasa 75 o 70% more or less sentiments sympathetic to China. Actually, isa yan sa mga ni-raise ko ngayon. Because before, sa tourism namin, I think province of Cebu, that Cebu depends much on tourism right now, no? And number one ang China. No, number one ang China sa amin. But of course, after the COVID, or when COVID came, medyo bumagsak na. Hanggang ngayon bumabagsak. Because we had sa Cebu, I had a media interview with the Department of Tourism. And number one right now na mga turista, foreign tourists, at least of that 5 million, ang Cebu, province of Cebu alone, South Korea na ngayon ang marami, no? Na nasa number 5 na ngayon ang China. So yun ang tinanong ko, bakit ang Department of Tourism ngayon medyo wala ba tayong ganun ka-intensive campaign o intensified campaign na i-bring back the Chinese tourism. So mukhang ang sagot sa akin ng Department of Tourism, medyo yung problema talaga ng West Philippine Sea. So kaya medyo hindi sila masyadong nagre-relate sa China.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Pero malaking kontribusyon sa turismo ng Cebu o ng Central Visayas ang China.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm very happy to be in touch with you regularly now dito sa ating mga symposium and media forum. Nakaka-feedback kami galing sa inyo. And of course, the tourism problem with China is not a problem with the beauty and hospitality of our country, but with the foreign policy. I think during the term of Duterte, when relations were good and open, Cebu had hundreds of thousands of Chinese tourists. And well, from 1.9 million tourists arriving in the Philippines from China in 2019, last year, we were reduced to 330,000 tourists from China. So this is a big debacle for the Philippines. So I'm very happy to have heard that from you. No? What else? Any other reactions? Yeah, I have a question, Rico.
Yes.
Rampant disinformation. For example, this morning, I think the news came out from GMA7, is that correct?
Yes, from
About China daw denying the asylum application of President Duterte. That is a lie. In fact, Sara Duterte has already announced formally that her father never applied for asylum in China.
China is not a party to the
Number two, China actually
It's not a party.
China actually made a public pronouncement to advise the ICC not to politicize the case of President Duterte and not to apply any double standard. So that's actually very helpful. Any reaction, Nico?
Meron pong reaction dito sa amin, ibang media dito, no? Especially identified with pro Duterte, no? Na it's a fake news. Yung asylum application.
Okay.
Merong mga sa radio, mga radio stations dito. Medyo yung angle ng denial of the asylum. Never that President Duterte applied for an asylum sa China when he was in Hong Kong.
China is not a party to the 1951 convention.
Danny wants to add something.
No,
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, China is not a party to the 1951 convention on the rights of refugees and asylum seekers. So that it would not work. That would not work legally.
Okay, Rick, other points, just hang on. You have to leave at 10:30, so maybe you can still catch Paglinawan part of Austin Ong's
Yes.
presentation.
Ako lang comment at least ang atong pwedeng angle siguro dito for discussion. Halimbawa sa radio program ko this 11 o'clock is itong at least ang asylum denial ng China, no? Pwede nating i-angle na ganyan. And then of course ang investments that hopefully na makapasok sana sa China, dito sa Cebu or sa Visayas, pero unfortunately hindi ganun ang foreign policy natin ngayon ng administration ni Bongbong Marcos, talagang anti-China.
Yes. That's great. If you can discuss it in your daily program, lunchtime program sa Cebu. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Kamento.
Again? Celso Kainglet from
Sir
Iloilo.
Celso Kainglet's raising his hand. Let's hear from him first. Then we'll get to Sir Ed Pancho.
From Iloilo.
Can you hear me?
Morning.
Good morning, Celso.
No, good morning, Daniel. Three things, Kamento. Number one, we can only look with envy and sadness to our nation neighbor, especially Thailand and Malaysia, Malaysia and Indonesia, and soon Thailand will be joining the BRICS. You know, these are already progressive countries, and yet maybe because the leaders have the wisdom to see the trend in the world. Unlike here in the Philippines, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel as long as BBM is the president. I remember you were there when we had dinner with the Chinese embassy official who was about to be transferred, and we asked her, why is China very poor in information, in the information war, in the information campaign? Well, her answer was, for many years, China was poor and they were inward looking. It's only now that they are progressive that they begin to look outside. Now, that gives me an idea. Maybe before we really polish or strengthen our foreign relations, especially in the area of economics, we have to look inward first. there's a lot to be fixed in our country, especially our culture and of course our political system. No? Because nothing will happen as long as BBM is there. He is under the dictates of the United States of America, and the Philippines will really wallow in poverty and stagnation. Second point, Kamentong, second point is regarding the gung-ho attitude of the Americans. Colonel Douglas MacGregor said that many in Washington are living in fantasy island. They think that we are still in the 50s when the United States was an industrial power, military power, but that's no longer the case. And this gung-ho attitude of the Americans will further isolate them. Sooner or later, I hope Filipinos will realize that. Third point regarding the sentiments in Iloilo. Well, as you know, Iloilo is really a yellow country because it is an ABS-CBN country. And the popular radio station here, Bombo Radio, every day attacks China, every day attacks Duterte. There was a rally here also to bring him home rally, but it was not well attended. There were very, very few people who attended. So Iloilo is a challenge. Although Iloilo is in dire need of investors. And just last week, I talked to a mayor of one of the big cities in Iloilo province. He mentioned to me that he is looking for investors. I asked him, is it okay if China will invest? He said it's okay because they're really in dire need of investors. But I don't know our NEDA or our present foreign policy will allow that. So I asked myself, Kamentong, sometimes, what would it take for the Filipinos to wake up? And I realized it does not necessarily need that the majority will wake up, but only the few intellectuals, only the few who are awake. We saw that in history. We saw that in every revolution that happened in the world. The very few who are awake, were enlightened, and who can communicate. That's more than enough. So let's continue this forum, Kamentong. Let's continue spreading this information. Thank you, Kamentong.
Okay, Celso, I think Ed Pancha from Tuguegarao is also raising his hand. We'll get back to Celso after we hear Ed from Tuguegarao. Ed, good morning. Magandang umaga.
Yeah, good morning, Kamentong, and the rest on board. Magandang umaga po sa atin lahat. Gusto ko lang i-share, Kamentong and the rest, kung ano yung pinakamalaking proyekto na nakuha ng lalawigan ng Cagayan nung panahon na naging maganda ang relasyon ng China at ng Duterte administration. In fact, isa ito sa flagship project na may tuturing ng Build program ni Pangulong Duterte, itong Chico River Pump Irrigation Project na nag-i-irrigate ng up to 8,700 hectares of farmland in Cagayan and Kalinga provinces, benefiting 4,350 farmers and their families. So it is ito yung binabanggit noon na proyekto na worth 4.37 billion pesos na tinuturing noon na a collaboration project between the Philippine government and China. So ito pong project nito is located sa Chico River Basin, which is the longest tributary of the Cagayan River, encompassing the regions of Cordillera and Cagayan Valley. And we are very thankful na dahil po sa BRICS program of the Chinese government, ito po ay naisakatuparan and it is now operational. So through this cooperation project, the relationship between the Philippines and China, napapansin ho namin na it was further consolidated and provides strong support para sa economic development ng bansa, particularly dito po sa Cagayan, Kalinga, and Apayao provinces because of this big project. Now, with this development na nangyayari ngayon, that Chinese project funding withdrawals, these supposed projects, yung ilalad ko mamaya ng mga proposed projects, which is supposed to be funded by Chinese businessmen, nakikita namin na nasa trouble na ito, no? Katulad ng mga malalaking proyekto na ng Cagayan International Gateway Project na pinangungunahan ni Governor Manuel Mamba at ng Provincial Government of Cagayan. Nung ipinsinta ito sa mga visiting Chinese businessmen, they were briefed and they were toured dito po sa mga investment areas na ito, sa economic areas and proposed development sites, including that of proposed international airport in the tri-boundary of Piat, Tuaw, and Solana. The Cagayan Smart City in Tuaw, Cagayan, the International Seaport in Apari, Cagayan, the Heavy Industrial Park Project in Apari, Cagayan, and the Cagayan Railway from the International Seaport to of Apari to the Cagayan International Airport in Piat, Cagayan. Kaya nga sinasabi namin na parang nasasayangan kami with these withdrawals na ng China sa pagpondo sa mga proyekto nito. Nasasayangan talagang lalawigan ng Cagayan because yung group of Chinese investors na pinangunahan po ni Madam Vivian Zhang, the president of the Commerce Chamber of Zhejiang, China, with at least 100,000 members na nabanggit niya, no? Nung siya po'y bumisita rito, parang kami po'y nangihinayang na with what is happening now, with this development na medyo nagkakaroon ng ganitong problema, parang nangihinayang kami dito sa lalawigan ng Cagayan na sayang yung mga nakikita namin na pagpapaunlad sana dito po sa aming lalawigan, Kabinto.
Yes, that's good to hear all your reports, and we have been following all these wonderful prospective projects sana. At dapat talaga maituloy para ma-boost na po ang economy ng buong Northern Luzon. No? But we're saddled with these challenges today, and that is why we're very happy we're now interconnected dito sa ating programa, sa ating symposium and media forum, and we regularly discuss these matters. So thank you very much. Any other hands raised? Wala na.
Okay. Thank you to all of our panel of reactors.
We can now transfer.
Yeah, we can. Let's welcome our next speaker, Kaado Paglinawan, Vice President of Asian Century Philippines, to give his opening remarks. Should you switch or I should?
Yeah, you just stay.
Okay.
Good morning to all of you in this room and those connected by Zoom. Ito po ang inyong maestro na magbibigay ng kaunting kontribusyon sa topic natin today. China's two-session summits, or Liang Hui, have been concluded in Beijing. This is the biggest event of the country's political calendar, as it set out the policy priorities for the rest of the year. All aspects of Chinese life were discussed, from the economy to employment to health and housing, foreign diplomacy, the military, and dealing with the uncertainties of external headwinds coming from the US President Donald Trump's shifting policies were also tackled. Last year, during China's third plenum in July, I discussed the unique way the China democracy works. China's model of a bottoms-up government executed by men and women who earn their positions through meritocracy may be a little difficult for the Filipino to understand, because in the Philippines, we elect our representatives to do the thinking for us. So policies that roll out of our legislature often incentivize powerful politicians and our ruling elite. We have a trickle-down economy. To get the pulse of the populace, opinion surveys are fixed merely to maneuver vested interests of government officials. There is no effective avenue to recall bad policies and bad policymakers. For example, the Marcos government has weighed heavily on protecting our sovereignty or protecting our territories against foreigners, which before recent events was only 5% of the people's concern, while it ignores 72% that says the knowing imperative to curb inflation and improve our economy. Does government even pay attention to the people's most urgent national concerns? Little wonder why in 60 years we sank from being the second richest country in Asia, next only to Japan, to the basket case that we are today. According to DeepSeek, this complex issue rooted in our historical, political, and structural factors are for these reasons. Number one, political instability and governance issues. Martial law, 1972 to 1981. The declaration of martial law by Ferdinand Marcos Sr. led to an authoritarian rule. The economy stagnated, the debt ballooned due to excessive borrowing for infrastructure projects that often benefited only the allies of Marcos. Post-Marcos instability. After Marcos was ousted in 1986, the country experienced political instability, frequent leadership changes, and weak governance, which hindered consistent economic policies. Number two, crony capitalism and corruption. The Marcos era entrenched crony capitalism, where businesses close to the ruling elite receive preferential treatment, stifling competition and innovation. Corruption remains a persistent issue, deterring foreign investment and efficient resource allocation. Number three, debt crisis. The Philippines accumulated massive foreign debt during the Marcos era, much of which was mismanagement or siphoned off. By the 1980s, the country faced severe debt crisis, leading to austerity measures and limited funds for development. Number four, weak industrial base. Unlike other Asian countries like South Korea, Taiwan, or Singapore, the Philippines failed to develop strong manufacturing sector. Reliance on agriculture and raw material exports left the economy vulnerable to global commodity price fluctuations. Number five, land reform and inequality. Land reform efforts were largely ineffective, leaving the agricultural sector inefficient and dominated by large landowners. This contributed to rural poverty and inequality, limiting domestic consumption and economic growth. Number six, brain drain. The Philippines has experienced significant immigration of skilled workers, for example, nurses, engineers, and IT professionals due to better opportunities abroad. While remittances support the economy, the loss of talent hampers long-term development. Number 7, natural disasters and geopolitical changes. The Philippines is prone to national disasters like typhoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and disrupt economic activity and require significant resources for recovery, and additionally, internal conflicts such as insurgencies in Mindanao and the communist insurgency have deterred investment. Number 8, global economic shifts. The rise of other Asian economies in manufacturing and technology outpaced the Philippines, which failed to adapt and diversify its economy. Number 9, education and infrastructure deficiencies. The educational system has struggled to produce a workforce equipped for modern industries, while inadequate infrastructure, roads, ports, and power has hindered economic efficiency and competitiveness. Number 10, policy inconsistencies. Frequent changes in economic policies, coupled with protectionism and bureaucratic inefficiencies, have discouraged foreign investment and stifled entrepreneurship. Given this scenario, it should pay well for the Philippines to learn from China. When I visited China 10 years ago, I found out that Deng Xiaoping borrowed some governance and economic management models from Singapore. Suzhou Industrial Park pioneered in China economic reform and modernization, has achieved remarkable results in promoting high-quality urban and industrial development over the past 30 years, since it was established in 1994. There I learned what powers China, with a population of 12 times that of the Philippines, to be able to liberate 800 million of its people from abject poverty in just about 30 years. The answer flexes from its governance structure. China's 2 sessions explains the engine for that absorptive capacity. It's a people-based dynamics from bottom to the top. The first at the bottom is the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPP-CC, that is made up of 2,000 grassroots representatives whose job is to identify needs in their respective communes and tell the government how well policies are working or not working on the ground, and to make suggestions for change to existing laws. We do not have that mechanism. The second is at the top, the more powerful National People's Congress, NPC, made up of 3,000 political elites who outlines new laws and policies for the year. This unimpeded communications is how Chinese leaders are working to make the economy more resilient. As we speak, they worry about the new traffic tariffs as well as the general global uncertainty being created by the Trump administration, responding to boost domestic corruption, increase innovation, and attract more foreign direct investments. They're also working to prevent social instability by boosting incomes, providing 12 million new jobs. 12 million new jobs, boosting support for the elderly as well as parents with young children. Beijing has set a growth target of 5.1% for 2025, and it will increase its budget deficit from 3 to 4%. Safeguarding national security is also its priority, and the government will increase military spending by 7.2%. That's $245 billion that will go towards upgrading and strengthening the People's Liberation Army. The priorities are set from the very relevant existential needs of the people and the entire attention of the nation, the government and the people, the public and the private sector, hone its attention to achieving set goals. The present Philippine scenario is a dark contrast. The premeditated and meticulously planned extrajudicial rendition or kidnapping of former President Duterte to the International Criminal Court at The Hague has been the urgent priority of the Marcos administration of the past week. Alarmed that this event might cause further destabilization to world peace, China warned the International Criminal Court against politicization and double standards. Foreign military spokeswoman Mao Ning said China has noted the relevant information and is closely monitoring the development of the situation. This is how sensitive China is to the situation in the Philippines, its closest neighbor country. With the Secretary of Justice as the most likely mastermind, from what is the Senate investigation is now unraveling, although he vehemently denies it. The Secretary of Interior and Local Government, his brother, has implicated the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Advisor as plotters, although they deny it, with the sanction of the President, who seems to be the only person admitting it. When he said, when I learned that at 6:30 there was a confirmed warrant of arrest, I told the Secretary of Interior, let's proceed with our plans. In a swift manner, it also showed governance determination going southward. We now have a nation with government totally alienated from the people, and it may well be bound to a regime change even before the 2028 presidential elections, if not the 2025 midterm elections. This conspiracy dealt a fatal blow to the prospect of the Marcos administration solving our present problems for the past 2 years. Its inability to curb inflation has eaten up a major portion of the consumer's disposable income. Worse, crony and oligarchy-controlled utilities are increasing monthly bills. No new money is coming in because the United States hold on the Philippine military has blocked Chinese inflows and has created a situation that has led to the stoppage of key infrastructure projects already identified earlier by Cabento. Marcos thought this would make the Americans and the Japanese take over the projects. And ironically, no other country has come to the plate. The previous months, we saw the resignations from the cabinet, punctuated by the discovery of mass resignations of 400 engineers from the Transportation Department, a 24% deficit in our tourism targets for the previous year. Scandals, or before that, agriculture declaring a rights emergency. Scandals involving the Philippine Congress abusing its power of the purse, padding pork barrel, and providing for cash stimulus packages for distribution of the administration candidates to its supporters in the coming midterm election in May for vote buying, no less. And finally, the politically motivated impeachment of the vice president. The previous year, we saw $1 trillion of taxpayers' money drained from the National Treasury to fund ghost flood control projects. And as if these were not enough, last month, a newly constructed bridge up north collapsed because of the sheer incompetence of the Department of Public Works and Highways, clearing passage for vehicular traffic to the infrastructure that has yet to be issued a certificate of acceptance. While the Philippines has made some progress in recent years with GDP growth and improvements in governance, challenges remain. Addressing corruption, improving infrastructure, investing in education, fostering a more competitive business environment are critical for sustained economic recovery. In summary, the Philippines' economic decline is a result of decades of poor governance, corruption, structural weaknesses, and missed opportunities, compounded by external challenges. Reversing this trend requires not only comprehensive but radical reforms and long-term strategic planning. Regrettably, as China's two sessions, or Liang Hui, round up setting the policy agenda for regaining economic growth for an already robust economy and charting a course through the evolving trade war and high-tech race with the US, I do not see any prospect of the Philippines benefiting from it. Given the internal turmoil Marcos has brought the country to, and the virtual isolation of our country from the Belt and Road Initiative and our ASEAN treaties. We are now an emaciated country locked inside our chosen leaders' stupor. We have better fastened our seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, for an imminent crash. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kado Paglinawan. Let's go back to our panel reactors in Zoom. If they wish to comment on Kado's presentation, please raise your hands. Okay. Okay. Sir Rico Osmeña would like to comment. Please open your mic. Please open your mic.
Good morning again. I would like to ask Kado, the call for people power to, of course, to pull down the administration of Marcos. Do you think it's now feasible? And how's the military right now? How do we find the military right now in the Philippine National Police? Please.
Sir, could you please repeat your question? But we couldn't quite hear. Thank you.
Kado, good morning, Kado. Just asking if the possibility of there are some calls, of people's power because of the present administration. And how do you find the people's power as the solution? And secondly, how do you think right now the present military sentiments, the AFP sentiments, are they divided, or are there some really retired generals that are, wanted Marcos down? Please, thank you.
There was something I was surprised. Immediately after President Duterte was kidnapped, was the multitude of people in far-flung Holo. You know, we could not even, in about 50 years, we could not even gather 20 to 30 people in Holo to sit down and talk. What we saw were thousands. And not just in Holo, but far-flung places all over Mindanao and some in the Visayas. The people now understands the situation we're in, not only because of the situation in their respective households, where the cost of living has tremendously risen, but it has been translated to them through basically YouTube, Facebook, much more than the media, because nobody almost watches media nowadays. Perhaps they only read the Manila Times now. But I was particularly worried about the riders breaking almost into Gate 4 of Malacanang and Mindiola, trying to get closer to J.P. Laurel Avenue to Malacanang. And of course, the rally at Liwasa Bonifacio. This is already people power. And this is not just percolating in Metro Manila, but throughout the Philippines. The prospect of the military coming into the picture, because in the Facebook page, for instance, of former General Romeo Poquis, he said that all the military is waiting for now is for the people to just go out and have a people power. I think there is some level of preparedness, but lack of a central leadership from within the military for, I would say at the very least, withdrawal of support. However, there is doubt lingering in my mind, because if you notice, President Duterte was detained in a military facility, and that was the Villamor Air Base. So these are giving conflicting signals. And I guess we have not yet reached the peak. I think in just a matter of days, maybe a week, and if the Defense Council of President Duterte can manage a provisional release and he is sent back home to the Philippines on the strength of a habeas corpus issued by the Supreme Court. And we see ourselves welcoming the return of the beloved president of the country, Rodrigo Duterte. I think the people will already march from the Manila International Airport direct to Malacanang. And I hope that there is no more occupant there waiting for what could come next. Because as soon as the military, I think, sees that, they will come out and do their share of a very peaceful regime change. So that is my perspective on the question that you have asked. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Follow up now. Follow up, please.
The follow-up, sure.
Yeah, follow up. Kado, yesterday si Vice President Sara Duterte already admitted as mukhang imposible daw na makabalik agad si Presidente Digong Duterte dito sa Pilipinas. Anong tingin po natin? Kasi ito yung medyo talagang hanggang ngayon, kahit dito sa Cebu, ang sentiments, kaya nga by Saturday, meron ditong unity run or unity ride, no? And then of course sa March 28 birthday ni Presidente Duterte, may malalaking pagkilos sa Cebu, I think even in Mindanao. Pero anong tingin niyo kay Vice President Sara sa pronouncement niya tungkol sa mukhang matatagalan or hindi na makakabalik si Presidente Duterte dito sa Pilipinas?
Also in the shoes of the Vice President, I would project some pessimism para lalo magalit ang tao. But, and I think the administration already knows about this. Birthday po ng Presidente, if I'm not mistaken, on the 28th. And doon lamang po sa aming movement, ng mamamayan ayaw sa digmaan, Marcos alis dyan, we have to divide ourselves into groups. Kasi ang dami naming invitation na natanggap requesting for a speaker from our movement. No? At hindi lamang po dyan sa Cebu. No? I know that something is also being planned in your nearby province, Negros, no? At marami pang ibang lugar where spontaneous demonstrations and show of support coming from the people themselves will sprout out. So, maaari din naman. No? Maaari din naman na hindi na umabot yan sa provisional release ni Presidente Duterte. Maaari din yan. Alam niyo po, the situation is very fluid. No? In fact, the most prominent destabilizing factor na nakikita ko ngayon ay ang paghiwalay ng Mindanao sa buong Pilipinas. And I know that many people are already in the works dito. And if even the police forces stop this, the very little that this would end to is the rebirth of new insurgencies. And hindi natin masisisi ang tao dito. This has virtually been provoked. And perhaps this is what Marcos is really planning for him to be able to declare a martial law. Pero I doubt very much kung magkakaroon ng popular support. Definitely, susuportahan siya ng mga ninong niya sa Estados Unidos, no? Yung pong mahilig sa digmaan at mga warmongers. Kami ng taga-Europa na dumadalaw sa kanya rito, nakikipag-joint exercises. But I think, although malakas itong darating na tsunami ng mamamayan. Po, klaro-klaro na ngayon sa kaisipan ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino na kung ang aming dating Pangulo ay tatraidorin at kikidnapin at isusuko sa isang panyagang bansa, ay sino naman tayo na mga ordinary citizens na irirespeto nitong administrasyon ito? Yung po ang klaro-klaro na hindi naiintindihan ng taong ito. And in the declarations of the Secretary of Justice yesterday, mukhang Alam niya alam niya ang batas at alam niyang i-twist ang batas. Nag-i-introduce siya ng isang legal theory na ang baho. Sana amoy. Na he was distinguishing the state from the individual. Ngayon lang ako nakarinig ng philosophy na ganyan under a democracy. Kasi sa pagkakaintindi ko po, ang Estado ay kabuuan ng taong bayan at bawat isa sa atin ay parte and parcel of the taong bayan. Each citizen is part of that nation state. There is no, you cannot distinguish the citizen from the state. Each and every citizen is part and parcel of that state. And we are the absolute sovereign. And the absolute sovereign, sabi nga ng aming constitutionalist noon na si Herman Laurel, the absolute sovereign is the people. And that is enshrined in our Constitution. The sovereignty rests on the people of the Republic of the Philippines. Tayo po yan, bawat isa sa atin. So there can be no distinction, Mr. Boying Rimulya, between the state and a citizen, between the state and an individual. Pangalawa, yung theory niya about the international humanitarian law is hogwash. Na miski raw hindi na tayo member ng International Criminal Court dahil tayo umalis sa International Criminal Court, ay apektado pa rin ang bawat Pilipino under the International Humanitarian Law. Bakit? Saan ko dito? Mr. Boying Rimulya, kaninong point mo kinuha yan? Ang baho-baho ng theory na yan. Bago ko rin na walang red notice. Alam niyo, 2 days ago, tumawag pa ako dito sa kaibigan natin from the Manila Times to verify. A simple question. Meron po bang red notice o wala? Dahil naglabas siya ng artikulo sa kanyang pahayagan na ang pinakawalan lamang ay diffusion request. A diffusion request has not been vetted. Hindi po yan dumaan sa General Secretariat ng Interpol. Bakit? Bakit hindi dumaan? Hindi na kayang dumaan. Dahil yung po warrant of arrest ng ICC nirelease ng March 7, Friday, walang pasok ang Sabado, walang pasok ang Linggo, Lunes, natanggap at pinadala na kagad ng March 11, alas 3 ng umaga dito sa ating National Central Bureau noong Center for Transnational Crime something, NCB. Hindi po aalisin ang redaction ng isang diffusion request or warrant of arrest for a warrant of arrest. In-issue ng ICC ng March 7 ang warrant of arrest. Secret. Hindi ho nila bubuksan yan kung walang mag-a-assure dito sa Pilipinas na maaari ng arestuhin ang Pangulong Duterte. At yung assurance na yan ibinigay after matagal ng 3 o'clock by 6:30 ang mga nagkukunsyabang ICC at Malacanang ay nagkasundo. Kaya naging public document ang warrant of arrest. Kahapon, narinig din natin si Attorney Alexis Medina patungkol sa klarifikasyon sa Republic Act 9851. Binabasa nilang lahat. Alam niyo po, 9851,
Section 7.
nilambad yan dahil every time we sign a treaty, kailangan yung treaty na yun, i-harmonize natin sa ating sariling batas. Yung pong 9881, ang ating version ng Rome Statute. At miski wala na tayong membership later on sa Rome Statute, batas pa rin ang Republic 9851. Pero hindi ko alam kung sinong genius sa ating Kongreso ang nagdagdag ng pagkalit-liit na kataga pursuant to extradition laws and treaties. Pag narinig ko po si Leila de Lima, lagi niyan sinasabi 9851. Gayon din kahapon si Boying Rimulya. Pero ang hindi nila sinasabi, number one, pursuant to extradition laws and treaties, na sinusuportahan din ng Article 59 ng Rome Statute. Pero dinidistinguish nila yung surrender sa extradition ay napakamalisyoso po ng mga utak ng mga ito. Dahil wala pong distinction yan. No? At sabi nga ni Atty. Medina, magkakaroon lang ng distinction yan kung voluntarily nag-waive ng right and suspect at pumayag na immediately padala na siya sa dahig. Hindi naman po nangyari yun, mga kabansa. So, klaro na po ngayon sa mga lumalabas. Ako'y natutuwa na ibang media, nilalabas na rin yan. Nabasa ko pa ako yan sa Daily Tribune. Nabasa ko na rin sa Inquirer. Dati, top secret ho. So yan ho, mga lumalabas. At hindi ho tayo, hindi ho ang media, hindi ho ang kung sinong politiko ang nagbulgar ng mga membro ng sindikato na kubinta sa ating Pangulo. Yung po ay walang iba, kundi si John Vic Rimulya. Pero ako'y nagtataka, inombrahan niya si Geopolitical. Kaya siguro, pinahiram yung Villamor Airways. Pero ayaw aminin. Ayaw aminin. Kaya siguro, in-implicate niya si Eduardo Anyo na our national spy. Anyo is our national spy. At siya ang nakumukuha na lahat ng informasyon at sumusunod sa lahat kay Presidente Duterte at nagbibigay ng feedback. At pagkatapos niyan, in-identify niya ang pang-apat na kasama ng core group. Ang ganda ng tawag niya, core group. Na walang iba kundi si Presidente Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Pero, hindi niya sinabi na kasama ang kanyang kapatid. Pero sa hearing po kahapon sa Committee on Public Relations, lumabas na po ang buong katotohanan at the truth and nothing but the truth. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Kado Paglinawan. Before that, we have one more question from or reaction from Casel Sokainglet, sir. Please, from Iloilo.
Thank you, Daniel. I remember before why Governor Daniel Lacson in Negros was very, very successful was that he tapped the academe in his policy. As we know, Negros Island, my birth province, was the epitome of hunger and poverty in the Philippines. But what Bitay Lacson did was to tap the Institute for Social Research and Development of the University of St. LaSalle to conduct an RRA, Rapid Rural Appraisal, all over the province. I was involved at that time because I was a research assistant at the ISRAD, no? Institute for Social Research and Development. RRA is doing community consultation, need assessment, process documentation. Documentation is the monitoring of projects, whether they are working or not. And he was very successful as a governor in alleviating the poverty in the province, because many of our local governments here have 5-year development plans every 3 years. They are not very scientific in their approaches. Their policies are simply based on their whims and caprices. Now, our NEDA is aware of this. Our NEDA has all the tools for needs assessment, for process documentation. Unfortunately, for a long time, NEDA was used to deodorize the data, to make the current administration appear beautiful or handsome. In fact, there was a suggestion before to transfer NEDA under the Department of Health because they're very good in doctoring data. Now, if ever we will have regime change, an honest to goodness person should be appointed there at NEDA, and NEDA and LGUs should tap the rich information of researches in the academe. I saw this in Europe. No? Many researches in the academe are being tapped for policy making. Unlike here in the Philippines, that the research of students are gathering cobwebs in their storeroom. So we have to be scientific in our approach in policy making. Same with China. Thank you.
We have a question from YouTube. We have a question from YouTube.
Yes, we have a question from YouTube. From Dorinia Rojas. This forum is enlightening, very interesting. What do Remulla et al. Know about diffusion requests? They do not even know how to serve a local warrant of arrest appropriate.
Precisely. I would just agree on that. And I would say just 2 notes here. Number 1, wala pong red notice na issue ang Interpol. At bakit po? Dahil yung request kung dadaan pa sa Secretariat, dadaan po yun sa General Secretariat ng Interpol. That will 8 more days. Dahil pag-uusapan pa yung leadership ng General Secretariat. So wala silang choice, no? Kundi i-pass break, no? At gamitin lamang yung diffusion request. Number 2, inamin din ni Secretary John Vic Remulla na ang rason kung bakit inabot na halos 12 oras ang detention, illegal detention ni Presidente Duterte sa Villamor Air Base ay inabot ng 12 hours. Ang pinalalabas nila, it was to give President Duterte maximum time to produce an action from the court. Hindi po totoo yun. Inamin po ni John Vic Remulla na alatala ang dahil nagpalit sila ng aeroplano and they have to clear all the flyover, they have to secure all the flyover permissions from certain countries. So, kung hindi po nangyari yun, yung former na plinano nila na magdala kay Presidente Duterte ay hindi na ho aabot ng tanghalian actually. Kasi ang talagang mission nila is as soon as possible i-load si Presidente sa aeroplano. You know ang orders nila. And my last sentence is as simple as taking in advance all those people who will join all the activities on March 28 to celebrate the birthday of our beloved former president. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'll just answer this question after this. So itadagdag ko lang itong mga observations ko po, ano. At dito natin makikita that itong mga ginawa po ng team ni Bongbong Marcos sa pagdakip at pagkidnap kay Presidente Duterte disregarded many rules of decency and propriety in executing such an apprehension. Reckless is one description that we can express now. Callousness, blatant disregard of due process and rights. Bakit ganyan ang ginawa nila? Bakit nagkakandara pa sila sa pagmamadali dito sa paggawa nitong pag-aaresto na napakaraming mga butas sa kanilang mga dahilan ngayong lumilitaw? My theory is, of course, this was a diktat. This was utos po ng Estados Unidos na deep state na tinatawag po natin. That they have allowed themselves to contradict themselves. For example, Bongbong Marcos' statement that there is no jurisdiction in January of 2024, but in March of 2025, sinasabi po niya na sinusunod lang nila ang Interpol, which is a lie because, as I have explained in my previous interviews, if the ICC has no jurisdiction, the Interpol cannot implement it. That is why palusot-lusot sila ngayon using the diffusion order of the ICC. Hindi po Interpol talaga. So anyway, our next guest will ask Danny to introduce. Do we have a new nameplate? Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Kamentong. Thank you to the panel of reactors earlier. Our next speaker, last but not the least, is Mr. Austin Ong. He's the co-founder of the Philippines-China Friendship Society, research specialization ASEAN and China Economic Development, Technology, and Entrepreneurship. And he has a BA in Political Science from UP Diliman and then an MPA in International Development in Tsinghua University. Welcome, Mr. Austin Ong.
Good morning. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Kamentong and Asian Century for inviting me. Kamentong asked me to bring the dessert. So we hope to bring the good news for us to have something to look forward to. Can we have the projector? I look here. Okay. And we're just waiting for the PowerPoint. Kamentong asked me to share a little bit of reaction to China's recently concluded 2 sessions, which is like China's Congress to present the annual economic plans. And we can see here opportunities for Filipino entrepreneurs, professionals, creative talents amid China's economic transformation. Next, please. Some of our friends have already seen this video. This is Apple's CEO, Tim Cook, revealing the secret of China's economic success that many American companies are profiting billions of dollars from. Could you play? It's just a minute if we can. This, I think, a couple of years ago. Go ahead, please.
So what probably the part that is the most unknown is there's almost 2 million application developers in China that write apps for the iOS App Store. And these are some of the most innovative mobile apps in the world. And the entrepreneurs that run them are some of the most inspiring and entrepreneurial in the world. Those are sold not only here, but exported around the world. Also in the manufacturing space, China has moved into very advanced manufacturing. And so you find in China the sort of the intersection of craftsman kind of skill and sophisticated robotics and sort of the computer science world, that intersection, which is very, very rare to find anywhere, that kind of skill. which is very important for our business because of the precision and quality level that we like. And then, of course, the thing that most people focus on when if they're a foreigner,
This is important.
coming to China, is they focus on the market itself and the size market. And obviously, it's the biggest market in the world in so many different areas. But for us, the number one attraction is the quality of people. So we've had an extraordinary relationship over 3 decades, really. It's not designed and then sent over. I mean, that sounds like there's not interaction. The truth is the process engineering and process development associated with our products require innovation in and of itself. Not only the product, but the way that it's made, because we want to make things in the scale of hundreds of millions, and we want the quality level of zero defect.
Basically, what he's saying is China is not only the largest buyer of goods, and yung mga kasamahan natin sa Filipino exporters groups, when they go to China, yung mga dinadala nilang produkto, usually sold out yan. Because the Chinese want to buy bigger, higher quality, and more healthy options. And one interesting thing that Tim Cook said is China is not only the biggest buyer, but also now the biggest supplier of high quality products, services, and as we can see, high technology and advanced technology. No? So one of the interesting takeaways from the 2 sessions is the 2 words that they repeatedly used, which is productive forces and proactive initiatives, meaning that China will focus on high quality growth and sustainable growth. They are cognizant of the problems that the Chinese economy is facing now. However, they also recognize that the problems today that they are facing is the result of their development. It's a good problem because they have been so successful in their plans. And what we can see with China's economic miracle is based on 5-year, 10-year plans. That is on paper. That is discussed among the township, village, provincial, national level, and then they reconcile and see which is more productive for the whole of nation approach. But at the same time, they're also recognizing that the whole world is facing challenges and China has to adjust. And that is very important because when China makes 5-year, 10-year plans, they usually achieve a big portion of those goals that they set. No? But actually, I had an opportunity to attend some conferences also in China. And you know, those 5-10-year plans are not the only plans that they have. They're also looking at the world 50 years to 100 years in the future. No, and that's something that we should ride. You know, there's a saying that we should ride the wave. When the wave is high, if you ride it, then we can achieve the success at a faster rate. No, go ahead, please. Next slide. That Apple Tim Cook video was a couple of years ago. This is Elon Musk, now the world's richest man, has more than half a dozen high-tech several billion-dollar companies. This is a recent video, and let's see what he says about China's super app, WeChat. Go ahead.
WeChat. I think WeChat's actually a good model. If you're in China, it's basically, you kind of live on WeChat. It does everything. It's sort of like Twitter plus PayPal plus a whole bunch of other things, and Pillow and so on. There's actually a great interface, and it's really an excellent app. And we don't have anything like that outside of China. So I think such an app would be really useful. And it, just like the utility of it, of sort of a spam-free thing where you can make comments, you can post videos, you can, I think it's important for content creators to have a revenue share. Now this does not need to be done on Twitter. It could be done from something that's created from scratch. So it could be something new. So really, but I think this thing needs to exist, whether it is converting Twitter.
Okay. Next slide, please. Yes. Imagine US, the world's richest man, saying we have to copy China's apps. No, this is unimaginable just a few years ago. We can see the most downloadable apps worldwide in October 2024. There are some that showing that TikTok has actually reached #1. In this case, the third, the fourth, and the fifth are China-made apps. No, across the board, across different platforms. Ang combined total, TikTok is #2 with 48 million downloads. Temu, it's like the Lazada, Shopee combined, and they're at the #5. No, CapCut is the video editing software. You know, I teach in the universities, and a lot of our students are they want to succeed, of course, in their careers, but a lot of these AIs are taking over traditional even creative jobs, no, video editing, photo editing. We have reporter friends here even writing. As you know, I went to a coffee shop near the university. All the students were in ChatGPT. Maybe I'm not supposed to say this, you know, but all of them, 100% using ChatGPT. So I think the professors will have a big problem on how to distinguish between. I'm sure you know DeepSeek from China has also push the boundaries even further. No, so with this competition, you know, let's learn from everybody. We're not saying let's choose one over the other. We're saying let's learn from everybody. Let's use what will benefit our Filipinos, our countrymen for the development of our country. No, next please. This is the highest earning app. So it's not only the top downloads but the top earners. We can see that TikTok is on top, surpassing YouTube, Disney Plus, Tinder dating app for the single friends here. And then the Tencent video is like the YouTube, not YouTube, Netflix of China. It's at #6, no? And that's across the board. Go ahead, next please. And actually, a lot of our Chinese friends are saying Filipino creativity is world class. A lot of these Chinese creative companies are actually hiring Filipino animators, designers, creative people, because our Filipino talents, you know, we can capture the emotions at a much intimate level, no? For those who are gamers or entertainment lovers, the last year the Wukong Black Myth was the top one of the top game downloads in the world, no? This is the Monkey King. If you know the story of the Journey to the West, 10 million units sold across all platforms, and of course, if you haven't seen it, it's ongoing in the cinemas. Necha, the Chinese animation, it's about 2 hours, but it's very rich, not only in cinematography, CGI technology use, but in the storyline. This is an old poster. You see how things move so quickly. This is a month ago. They've made $2 billion already. It's doubled in a month, no? And that's only in the China market. They've only recently gone abroad, no? And the part 1 made $500 million. So part 2 is ×4. Next, please. And of course, you're seeing more and more of this EV cars on the road. I'm sure you're seeing BYD. BYD has actually surpassed Tesla, no? In worldwide sales, double of Tesla. And actually, #4, I think #6 and #8 are also Chinese brands, no? Can we make the screen smaller, please? And you can see this company, Xiaomi, that used to make phones for other companies. They were OEM, you know, and then because of their good quality products, they started with their own brands. Now they went into a car. They only have one car at the moment, one EV car, but it's the whole 2025 is sold out. You have to wait 10 months. It's about $30,000, so it's still far more. It's more expensive than a traditional car, but a little bit more affordable than the American-made EV cars, but sold out. No, next please. This is very important because, you know, our ASEAN friends, our Thai friends, Malaysian, Indonesia, even our Chinese, Japanese, Korean friends, they say the Philippines is really the best. We have the best beaches, the best people, friendly, hospitable, love the Philippines, right? But what we are seeing on the tourists are, this is a Chinese, can we make it small? This is the January to March 2024. Thailand, we'll look at the updated numbers, but we can see Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia are getting more Chinese, not only Chinese, worldwide tourists. So next slide, please. We'll go back to this. Next slide. Yeah, here. Chinese tourist arrivals in 2024. Thailand got 6.7 million China tourists out of a total of 35 million. Vietnam got 3.73 million Chinese tourists out of 17.6 million total. Malaysia got 3.3 million Chinese tourists out of 38 million. Singapore, tiny Singapore with a population of what? 5-6 million. Half of the total population, Chinese tourists, 3.08 million out of 16.5 million tourists. And they're capturing all these entertainment, concert, big ticket sales, right? They signed Taylor Swift exclusive for 3 years and several other worldwide. We can do it. Why can't the Philippines do it? We speak English. Foreign friends love Filipino hospitality. We can do better. Many Southeast Asian countries have been easing visa restrictions and rolling out new tourism incentives to capture a larger share of China's massive outbound travel market. But in fairness to the Department of Tourism, I heard from Chinese friends that the Philippine destinations are being promoted in China. However, if we do not align the visa policies, then there's a disconnect in policies and deliverables. So we have a lot of work to do, but there are opportunities that low-lying fruits that we can capture. Unfortunately, the Philippines last year got 300,000 Chinese tourists from a high of 1.5, 1.6 million before, out of a total of 5.95 million tourists. Can you go back to the previous slide, please? Yes, this one is showing that the Chinese tourists are the biggest spenders starting a few years ago. And this one in 2024, they spent almost $200 billion in 1 year. That's about what, two-thirds or 1/4 of our total GDP. And they will be the biggest spender for the next 10 years. We should take a bigger piece of this. And you know, I just came back from Boracay. Talagang magandang Pilipinas, no? Pwede natin ipagmalaki. Unfortunately, right now, because of our domestic situation, if we focus too much on, you know, let politicians do what they have to do. But we should focus on economic and development for the betterment of our people's welfare and life, no? Let's go to the next slide. China's also opening up. Many of our friends are traveling to China and they're amazed at the transformation. You can see among the dozen or so countries, Malaysia has also been given visa-free entry to China. So we encourage our Filipino friends to go to China. Nakakatuwa because it's only 2 hours to go to China, to Fujian and Guangzhou. You know, it's faster to go to China than from Makati to Quezon City. So take advantage of that, no? And then see the world. Go ahead, next, please. We also want to show Filipinos succeeding in China. This is a good friend, Jensen Moreno. She went to Vietnam first, and then she went to China as an arts teacher. And she became well loved by the Chinese people that she became now a very famous artist. So she sells her artworks at a very luxury prices. I will give her credit. But she's also very friendly, very charming lady. And she helps a lot also with our Philippine embassy events in China, no? But you can see on the left side, she's also a cultural ambassador. So a lot of the Chinese conferences and seminars on tourism, on cultural linkages, she's invited as a speaker. and she's promoting Philippine culture and Philippine ingenuity worldwide via China. Next, please. This one is also a good friend, Carol. She's doing very well in China, selling baby products and Bebe Balm, and she's won several awards. You know, so for China, even though we have this maritime issue, which is, you know, it's temporary, because in the long term we are neighbors. We cannot change that. That's permanent. But China can appreciate if your quality and your services are world class. China not only China market will not only value it, but will give recognition. Also, on the right side is a poster of Southeast Asian brands promoting in Shanghai, and that's something that we should get involved in. Next, please. This is a little bit of a warning. It was just recent news that I read. No, you know, Philippine call center is #1, even with India's technology and population. But because of the accent, we have the American accent, which foreign companies like. But now AI can improve. What's the right word? Enhance the Indian accent. No, so and then the largest call center in India has invested 850 high technology AI to improve their services. No, so that's not even talking about the other technologies that will really disrupt the call center industry, and we have to prepare for that. No, and in China's this is a US Fortune magazine reporting. China's 6-year-olds are already being offered AI classes in school in a bid to train the next generation of DeepSeek founders. What is the difference? China's education is training their students to produce, to be inventors, to be entrepreneurs. But our students here, what are we teaching them? Are we teaching them to be producers, consumers, or only for entertainment? Next, please. So we have to level up our education also, and let's be friends with everybody and learn from everybody before we get left behind again. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let's have a group discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
I'll get them. Okay, need coffee or anything?
I had to.
Okay, let's have a group discussion. But let's look at our audience first. May hands raised. Any hands raised? Any questions? No. Anyway, I wanted to have an exchange of ideas in the next half hour. We have until 11:30. So it's only, we have half an hour to go. So, Danny, we have had the presentation of Austin. And again, I think myself and Austin have presented what the two sessions offers and the Chinese economy and the growth prospects in the coming years. And so what else can we add to our what we share with our audience? Anybody?
Well, what I learned from Austin today is the prospects are very much available on a people-to-people basis. On a government-to-government basis, I would say this is virtually isolated because of the zero-sum hold of a foreign country over our decision makers in government. And so, but the doors of China is very much open to people exchanges. There are functioning associations like our Federation of Filipino Chambers of Commerce and Industry, like the Association of Philippine-China Understanding. I believe the Anvil is also one of this, and IDSI. And there are many low-key non-government organizations that are cooperating on this basis.
But the reason why I wanted to get us together in this discussion, because we got some questions on our Viber group. For example, and maybe some of these have been answered before, but let's consolidate. What lessons can the Philippines learn from China's economic reforms? Let's start with Austin.
You're the expert. Thank you for that question. No, as we can see from the two sessions, China is cognizant. China recognizes the challenges. No, so we don't have to shy away from the current realities. We can face them head on. We can acknowledge them, account for them. But let us look forward and be realistic, be practical, and there's so many developments now, technology-wise, that can help us leapfrog, help us overcome many of the structural problems. You know what they're saying about the Philippines missed the manufacturing, industrialization, revolution. Although there's still areas where we can focus on. I believe Kamentong's paper mentioned the Panhua, $3.5 billion investment from China. They want to build a steel mill that will employ more than 10,000 Filipino workers. No, so these are still available. However, we cannot be taking it too easy because our neighbors also want those projects. Our neighbors are building their infrastructure in cooperation with China. Indonesia finished their high-speed rail that cut 4 or 5 hour travel time to 45 minutes. And it's already accelerating Indonesia's economic growth. Vietnam finished its metro rail with the help of China. Cambodia, Thailand are also connecting, and Laos, of course, the Laos-China rail. They're all connecting to China, and not only connecting to China, but they're becoming the transit to the Western markets. So we have a lot of opportunities. However, we have to level up our game. Otherwise, we might, meaning we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just copy, we copy what the neighbors are doing, and we localize it to benefit our people. So maybe just a little bit of.
Another question here is, how has the extradition of former President Duterte affected Philippine politics? Tado?
First of all, I would like to correct the term extradition. Our president was not extradited, he was kidnapped. And this violence, this policy of violence and violation of the rule of law is precisely sending our not only our politics in a tremendous disarray, as even the administration candidates, on top of which is Jaime Marcos receiving the biggest decline in public support immediately after the kidnapping. I do not see any light at the end of the tunnel unless the Supreme Court really comes up with some sobering respite or remedies to this blatant violation of human rights and due processes of law. Without these two basic principles enshrined in our economy, I see this democracy crashing. And that is how I ended my presentation. Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because we are about to crash. So I see the prospect of regime change getting more and more from possibility to probability. And unless this administration experiences some kind of a rebirth or renaissance, which I believe is impossible, because all they have shown so far is just their desire to remain in power at all costs. Even destroying the Philippine economy, even destroying the people's rights, and even at the expense of the very absolute sovereigns themselves. I see us as going southward faster than any other country is dropping. There is even more prospect of some positiveness in Ukraine, because the world powers are already talking about peace. I don't see this in this. We are on a spiral and a downspin that seems to be unstoppable. And unless, I said, this administration changes course, or unless this administration is removed and replaced with a more democratic and proactive leader, I don't think we will see any respite in the near future.
The next question from one of the newspapers is, why did China warn the International Criminal Court about politicization, but I think it's better to pronounce it as politicization of and double standards, no? I'll answer this one. Number one, the ICC has a very bad reputation internationally, actually. So contrary to what Boying Remulla have been stressing yesterday in the hearings in the Senate, that 120 countries are part of the ICC, I would rather stress that 73 countries of major importance in the UN are not part of the ICC. Because out of the 120 countries are many African countries that are still under partial or neo-colonial rule. That is why they're still also dependent on the European economy, and they have been blackmailed to join the ICC. Then you have the other Pacific Island nations that are so small, we can't even consider them in general as major or significant nations. What Boying Remulla forgets is that the major powers are not part of it. China, Russia, of course the United States, and even the medium powers such as Indonesia, Malaysia, in our own region, Thailand, are not part of it. So these are self-respecting countries who are very protective of their sovereignty. So you can see again Boying Remulla cheating the people by distorting reality and mouthing Western propaganda that supports the ICC. The ICC has been called various names, such as the International Colonial Court, the International Crocodile Court. It has a very bad reputation internationally. So, and that is why I think China, when asked, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Mao Ning, when asked in a regular press conference what the reaction of China is to the incident with regards to President Duterte, they advised that to avoid politicization of the case and to avoid double standard. Because the double standard of the ICC is very renowned, very well known, such as in the prosecution of cases where the vast majority, 70, 80%, maybe even 90%, are African leaders that the West dislike. We can cite cases such as the indictment of Muammar Gaddafi in 2010 because of the attack of the Western powers such as France and the United States, who each for their own reasons. Number one, it was discovered a decade later that one of the motivations of the President Sarkozy of France in 2010 was the impending revelation of Muammar Gaddafi of the 50 million euro monthly bribe that he was giving to Sarkozy. And for the United States case in the ICC against Gaddafi, was a response to Gaddafi's threat of issuing the gold dinar and to accept other currencies for the Libyan oil. So there are many, many issues against the ICC. And that is why I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China advised to avoid the politicization and double standards that the ICC is known for. And I suppose that is, in a way, an oblique way of supporting President Duterte. Now, this is very significant because we can see the volume of disinformation against China in this case of Duterte. Danny Long just showed me the GMA News report of the so-called denial by China of the asylum petition of Duterte. That is blatant disinformation. That is blatant fake news. Prior to today, Vice President Sara has already announced, and it was already published, that President Duterte never applied for asylum. Why is GMA7 still publishing this? So if the Congress wants to see perpetrators of fake news, they should go to the mainstream media. How does China's governance model differ from the Philippines' governance system? I'll go to Austin first because he studied in China. He knows China inside out. Then we go to Kado.
Thank you, Kamentong, and for that question from our online friends. I think we need a few more sessions for that, Kamentong. That's one thing that I think a lot of our Western friends misunderstand China is they see China as one big giant. But actually, China, there's a very illustrative economist map that shows every province of China is equivalent to a country in the world in terms of population size and GDP size. I think the Philippines is 100 million population is equivalent to one province in China, for example, Guangzhou, which is 100 plus million population. The GDP of I think Beijing is equivalent to the whole economy of the Philippines. So actually China is like a union, like European Union, different, of course, under the central government, under the leadership of the Communist Party. But actually, even that is a misnomer because although the national policies are announced by the central government, there's a lot of consultation that happens behind the scenes. No, so the consultation happens all the way from the village level, as we mentioned earlier, township, city level, provincial level, regional level, and then a national level reconciles to see which of the priorities the national government will focus on. And as you can imagine, all the problems we have with 110 million population, imagine you have 1.4 billion. So China's government is very much in tune with the concerns, the aspirations of its people, and there is a feedback mechanism which is very hard for the West to. But actually, in fairness, a lot of our materials, even Kamentong's materials and our think tanks materials, we get them from the U.S. Because many American scholars and analysts are very much we can say they're even more in tune or many of them can read Chinese, no? So their materials are primary sources and they're very honest and forthcoming in their analysis. And many of them actually see that China is a work in progress, and that's something that China also acknowledges. It's a work in progress. It's not a perfect system, but it's every day it's working hard and working intelligently to, it's getting, I think there was a study before, I can't remember the exact figure, but many of their top leaders are engineers. No, ours are more lawyers, celebrities. Many of them are our friends now, so we're not saying that's not saying good or bad, but we're saying that when you have a problem of a country, you need engineers who are problem solvers. And one thing that I think China is evolving to is they're very, of course, focused on numbers. Everything is quantified. Their GDP growth, their regional development, provincial, everything is. If you read the two-session report, numbers. But because of the new productive forces and the technologies and the aspirations of the people, they're now focusing on the quality. No, so the quality development, high growth, quality development, high quality productive forces. So that will actually transform the whole formula of economic development. When we're poor and we want to overcome the poverty, our basic concern is food, clothing, shelter. But once we overcome the basic needs, then our people will, of course, require and aspire for more quality of life. And that's something we're seeing, and that's actually good for the world. Our Filipino people, we love the good life. The Chinese friends, when they come to the Philippines, when they meet Filipino friends, they enjoy the Philippines. They want to stay, maybe the first time they come here 1 week, 2 weeks for travel, they meet the local people. They want to stay in the Philippines. They bring their family, they invest here. And that's good for the world. No, we're not discounting that, some of the tourists might have some shady backgrounds. But Singapore is also getting Chinese tourists. All our neighbors are getting Chinese tourists. How come they are managing the security concern? They're getting multiple times, 10 times more than what we're getting, but they're able to manage the security concerns as well at the same time benefiting from the legitimate tourists. And that goes for all the tourist markets in the world. No, let's capitalize on our strength. Thank you.
And can you ask the question but you can respond to this question?
The last sentence of Austin's about tourists. From 2017 to 2019, we had our fair share of Chinese tourists. 1 million in 2017. 2 years before that was the last full year of President Aquino. 360,000 lang during 2015. Kalahati lang, no? Si Aquino kay Duterte sa 2016. So, jump tayo sa 2017. From 360,000 in 2015, naging 1 million na ho yan sa 2017, naging 1.3 million na yan sa 2018, at naging 1.7 million na po yan sa 2019 for a total of 4 million. Today, as we speak, I think in 2023, there were 267,000. In 2024, I think 330,000. Ang problema po kasi, diretsuhin na natin. Hindi ko alam kung ano ginagawa ng Secretary Frasco dahil ayaw ho ni Marcos na pumasok ang mga Chino rito. Binigyan po ng kota ang mga Chinese. Hindi ko alam kung ilan, pero even Chinese businessmen who want to establish legitimate businesses here are complaining that visa processing even takes weeks just to come to the Philippines. In other words po, sarado ang pintuan natin sa mga Chino. For what reason? Itanong niyo ho kay Gibo Chodoro. Dahil ang sagot po dyan, hawak ng Amerikano ang mga pintuan at bintana natin para sa foreign tourists, and actually, ang signal niyan also gets to the foreign investors. Yung pangalawa ay yung style ng government. Well, sinabi na ni Austin, bottoms up po ang style ng governance sa China. I dealt with it in my presentation. Yung villages level, yung is represented up to 2,000 grassroots representative in the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Nagmi-meeting po ang mga barangay annually para i-identify ang continuing needs nila, para sabihin sa gobyerno anong policy ang hindi nagwo-work sa level namin at kung anong policy ang nagwo-work, at nagsusubmiti po sila ng suggestions for changes to existing laws. Sa Pilipinas po, once you elect your congressman, that is the last time you see your congressman. Wala pong constituency power dito. No?
May ayuda ka na, gusto mo pa constituency power?
Oh,
Di ba? Yun ang philosophy dito.
inuutosan ka na, nagtatrabaho ka na, gusto mo pa ng sweldo? Ganyan ang attitude ng ating gobyerno. Detached po ang tao dito sa gobyerno at lalong isolated from the presidency.
Yeah, Kado, I have to intervene kasi...
Anyway, my last sentence is the pinakamataas po sa policy-making body na National People's Congress, 3,000 naman ang nandoon. So, from bottom, no, to the top. Ang eleksyon po sa kanila nagsisimula sa pababa, villagers, elect the town leaders elect the next level up to the provincial level elect the regional level elect the national level. Meritocracy po, hindi kayo pwedeng umakyat mula sa baba hanggang itaas kung hindi talaga kayo matinik. Dito ho, lahat ng politiko may tinik. Basta may pera kayo, pwede kayong maging congressman, pwede kayong maging politiko. Yun po ang diferensya. No? So, ano ang demokrasya dito? Ano ang tunay ng demokrasya? Yan naman ang tanong ko pabalik. Thank you.
Okay, dadagdag ko lang dun sa... Danny.
Go ahead.
Dadagdag ko lang dun sa question na yun about the governance. Ang major factor talaga nabanggit na variously ni Ado and myself earlier. But the biggest problem, roadblock of the Philippines is the American neo-colonial control. Nabanggit yung trend natin sa tourism. Bakit biglang bumagsak sa panahon ni Bongbong Marcos? Nautusan yan eh. Why would they, even Bongbong Marcos, want such a dismal performance in tourism? Ayaw din niya yan. Pero nautusan at dahil siya ay duwag, dahil siya ay nagpapatuta, ayan po ang sitwasyon po natin. Lahat ng economic programs, inaantala na ngayon, nasisira, nahahadlangan. There is an invisible hand behind. Let me see. There's a question from the audience. I think this is probably answered by Austin. Austin? Yeah.
Thank you, Kamentong, and for the question. Just to add on Kado's earlier data, no? Tama po yung sinabi niya, there was a multiple increase in Chinese tourism in like 3 or 4 years. Pero nakakalungkot, no, there at that time, no, this is a few years ago, there were some politicians who were spreading the fake news that there's a China invasion of 4 million Chinese coming to the Philippines, no? They never said that that is a 4-year, 3-year tourism arrival. And our neighbors, Singapore, as we saw in the data, got 3 million in 1 year. Thailand got 6 million. Sabi ng mga Thai friends mismo, mas maganda pa daw ang beaches natin, no? With all the due respect to our Thai friends, no? They enjoy our tourist destinations as much. Just to add, if I can invite our media friends also. Last night I was drinking with a Chinese friend. You know what this guy is doing? He's bringing Chinese tourists, European tourists, American tourists to the Philippines. Alam mo, pinakamalaking problema niya? Sabi niya, he brought 2,000 tourists to Palawan, Puerto Princesa. Alam mo ilan lang ang bus? I hope maybe our friends can validate. Alam mo, you know how many buses he can pull out for his tourists? 3 buses. He had 2,000, so he had to rent those van, yung small. But imagine if from maybe several buses, you have to worry about 100 minivans. You know what he did? He had to ask his friends to buy vans. So these are the Chinese who are helping promote the Philippines. Sabi niya, we love the Philippines. We want to help the Filipinos. Sabi niya, he wants to give the business to the Filipino local rental buses, but they cannot provide more than 3 buses. And you know, he wants to invite, kung may mga oras po tayo, he wants to invite us to his office, not to see, they are doing all the posters, they are doing all the travel expos worldwide, not only in China. He is promoting the Philippines in Western countries. And he's still here. No, he wants to invest more in the Philippines. Of course, a little bit more low key now. But you know, these are the things that maybe our reporter friends and of course the ones here are honest and truthful in their reports. No, these are the things that maybe we can focus on. No, because tourism is actually a multiplier economic generator. It benefits the local economy, the tour guide, the sari-sari store, the resorts, the banqueros, diba? The tour,
Direct infusion of currency.
direct infusion to the local economy, no, and that redounds to the whole economy as a whole, no. And to just a quick answer: do the Chinese people in general appreciate the technology being offered by the Philippines in when it comes to business or cultural affairs? Alam mo, ang number one technology natin, our human resource. The Filipinos in China are teachers, doctors, engineers, creative professionals. They are we're not looking down on anyone. No, alam natin yung mga ibang kasamahan natin sa ibang bansa. Majority are what they are doing, no. But in China, our Filipinos are band are artists, yung musicians, no. In the top hotels and top restaurants in China, there are Filipino.
In fact, a prominent Filipino, Martin Andanar, is working in China as a broadcaster.
Umuwi na yata. I think the contract was a short term. But you know, especially when the relationship was at its height, the Chinese love their Filipino teachers. And the Chinese, you know, usually online, we had 30,000 plus Filipinos teaching Chinese students online English. And then after a few months, you know, the Chinese family loved the teacher so much, they invited the Filipinos to China. And you know, the relationship is very positive because we teach the Chinese to be more easygoing, to enjoy life more, right? Do not work so hard. And then the Chinese help our Filipino brothers and sisters to be more business-minded, to be more entrepreneurial, and it's actually win-win for everybody. No, thank you.
Okay. So Danny, we're at the end of our time. It's already 11:29.
Okay. So do we have any further questions on Facebook, Zoom now? Okay.
Yes,
All right. So we'll okay, we'd like to close this symposium, media forum. Again, thank you again to Kamentong, Laurel, Cado, and Mr. Austin Ong for joining us and giving us their thoughts on the China's recently concluded 2 sessions and some lessons for the Philippines to recover its economy. Thank you again to everyone who joined us on Facebook, on Zoom, on YouTube, watching live, and later on the replay. I'd like to also take this opportunity to promote. There is an upcoming rally on March 28th. Go Green for Global for Tatay Digong or President Duterte. Just like to promote that. Also, please check out the website asiancenturyphilippines.com and GTR and our Global Talk News Radio on YouTube to subscribe. Thank you again for joining us.